How you doing,
I'm
man?
doing good. How about you?
I'm doing well. Everybody, welcome back to the Make Trades Great Again podcast. I'm Eric. He's Andy. Today, Andy, let's talk about something a little bit different. We haven't really talked about this before.
A little.
I'm thinking
Okay. Hit me.
based off of some comments we got sent in, some DMs, switching trades. You ever thought about it? You ever thought about just like, I don't want to be a plumber anymore. I'm going to go do something new.
Yeah. Yeah. I could bag groceries again pretty easy. No, I'm just joking.
Recently? Have you thought
No.
about it?
I don't know. Here's the deal. I would say on stressful days, it's
Yeah.
easy to look at other things and go, boy, it'd be a lot easier to go do that.
Yeah.
As a business owner, some days I go, you know what? It'd be pretty easy to go collect a paycheck somewhere. And
Yeah.
I know that that's complete bunch of hogwash and that's whatever. It certainly would be easier. There are less things to think about for sure. There are far fewer benefits in working for someone than working for yourself. So I'll just say that.
Well, yeah. Yeah. I mean, some of the comments one of the comments that was sent in or messages sent in just said, hey, look, I've been working as an automotive tech for, 15 years
Yep.
out of high school. Left, tried this, came back, went and tried that, came back, didn't really work out. I don't know what those jobs were.
Sure.
But ultimately, this person says, look, I like the plumbing and heating aspect of things.
Yep.
What do you think? I'm 33, 35, somewhere around there. And, you think I'm absolutely crazy? So what do you think, Andy?
I don't. I mean, I would say you and I both had a very similar concept. Now, granted, we stayed within the same trade that we knew, but it was a significant change from working for someone to starting your own business, right? I mean, yes, we're doing the same kind of work. We already know how to do that kind of work, but the entire, the business operation, the business ownership side of that is like starting a new trade, in my opinion.
Okay.
That was something
I don't think that's a big stretch.
Yeah.
I hear you.
I mean, it's not something that I had never done, never even thought about doing, prior to going like, oh, I should start a business. So I didn't have this fine podcast to listen to, while I was thinking about it, for one. But
well, if we're going to make the trades great again, we have to talk about the tough issues like this.
That's right. So yeah, I mean, I could understand it. I could fathom it, especially if you're right there just going, I'm done with this. This is no longer something that excites me. I'm not interested in it, or it's just the daily grind and I'm not going anywhere. Well, I mean, boy, you better start looking, because I've said this for a long time, that if you dislike getting up in the morning and going to work, if that's something that you start dreading to do, it is time to figure out how to change that, because we spend a tremendous amount of time at work. And if that sucks, if that time mentally is tough to deal with, then it's time to find something different to do.
Okay. I agree with that 100%. Some people might say, so I'm going to try to just represent some other people, different train of thought. Some people might hear you say that and go, yeah, but you're doing fine. Like, no big deal.
Sure.
For you, which is not to say, Andy, that you haven't thought about this, you haven't thought this through, or, look, that's not it at all. And that your idea, your opinion is valid.
Yeah.
But some people are going to have to take a significant pay cut, or a pay cut at all. And that might be significant. Does that make sense?
Yep. It absolutely does. And I would say highly likely. If you're well established, or I guess maybe not well, if you're seasoned in the trade that you're in, and you're producing for a company, I guess, if you will, or a business, for you to go somewhere where you're not seasoned and expect the same rate of pay, there would have to be something you're bringing to the table.
Well, that's a great point. That's a great point. You bring that up, and that's not even really the topic of discussion for most people when they talk about changing jobs. And they might look at the pay difference and wonder, well, I mean, I'm 30. Is that some, is that starting pay for a first year apprentice? Isn't that for somebody that's younger?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd say no, wouldn't
no,
you?
you're right.
It's based off skill set,
It's
right?
based off skill set. Yeah.
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 Yeah. So like the idea that you're going to have to take a pay cut, it sucks. I'm not looking to do it. And for that reason, like I like what I do,
Right.
but like
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to do it for any less.
Yeah.
And, I've worked very hard to get to where I'm at, and I'm not looking to change. But yeah, if you're, it's not just being happy though either. Like it can actually affect you mentally,
Oh
like
yeah.
physically. It can affect your health.
Yeah.
So like if you're in that state, to go back on what you were saying, like it is super important. You really then have to consider paycheck or pay cut. I'm sorry, I misspoke there. Pay cut. Can you make it work?
Right.
Can you put up with, having less of other things in order to, survive and do your necessities off of a lower amount of pay?
Yeah.
Because that quality of life, if it's an improvement, if it ends up being an improvement for you, I'll tell you, it's hard to put a price on that.
It is. It absolutely is. And that's something that's, I don't know. I mean, I guess I think about that, and what I was just saying is, what do you bring to the table? As a let's just go back to the listener that wrote in for us. If you look at his, I assume it's a him.
It was he,
okay,
him. Yeah.
right. If you're listening, Jay, that's for you.
That's for you, Jay.
If he is, let's say been in the trade for 15 years, right? He has at that point developed certain skills. In automotive, you're going to develop customer service skills at some point or another. In the last 15 years, you've dealt with customers, right? Okay. That's not something
likely
that is just taken for granted. You've probably got some billing skills or some invoicing skills or some, how to do the paperwork side of your job as a technician. Okay. That's a skill that, the green fresh apprentice right out of high school doesn't have. Maybe you have some of the technical lingo. If you're a mechanic, a lot of what the rest of the skilled trades do on the day to day is turning wrenches. One way or another, it's having that mechanical aptitude to go in and figure out a problem, do problem solving, and work through things. Those are some of the most difficult skills to teach because they have to come with time on the tools.
Yeah. In this particular instance, you're definitely right.
Yep.
And if you're a mechanic now and you're looking at HVAC, yeah, you're not wrong, Andy.
Right.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
But what if you were, doing drywall and you're like, well, I want to, this just never was for me, but I had to stick with it for one reason or another. And I want to do electrical.
Yeah. Well, I think that same concept. If you were, okay, let's just take your example. If you're the drywall installer, and you've done the drywall installation, new construction drywall installation for 15 years, what skill sets would you have that would apply to electrical? Well, on a new construction site, you already know a lot about, theoretically, a whole bunch about the safety aspect of it. How to work at a safe environment, how a new construction site functions. I mean, that's a daunting.
How to get along with others.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. They're
Those are big steps. Well, they're also electricians, so
that's true. There's, gosh, I know, just rude right out of the gate. There's, you're going to have those, I guess those skill sets where you can, go in and read a set of prints, right? Potentially there's going to be some plan reading, there's skills there. And what I would say to anybody that's going that direction is, one, you're going to have to be patient with your new employer, because if you walk into the interview and be like, yep, I've been a drywaller for 15 years and I want to start out at third year apprentice rates. because I already know how to do
Right.
A, B, C, and D. Well, the employer's probably going to be like, good try. Let's have another talk again in a little while.
Yeah, anybody that's been through that as an employer is definitely going to be they're going to be hesitant if at all, even at all, open to the idea or conversation.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things that it's easier to, and in my opinion, it's easier to look at an employee as they're working for you and start assessing their abilities and their skill set, and then make an adjustment to pay accordingly in the positive direction. It is really hard as an employer to go back to an employee and be like, yeah, you're really not worth that much. It's never going to go over well.
No, it's not.
So,
And that's the responsibility though of the employer, of course, from the start, and whether they got to do that or not. Sometimes people misrepresent their own skills
absolutely.
too. But I think in those instances, you're right. There's a lot of crossover. There's probably built-in skills that exist from that transfer in one way or another. They're going to be useful.
Sure.
You're not going to walk away from it.
Yeah. Well, and I think that the thing to remember in that case is that you may go into the interview and go, oh, you know what? I was making $31 an hour at my last job as the mechanic, right?
Yeah.
And you show up for day one as the apprentice, and you might be making 19, or you might be making 18. That's a big chunk, right? You may find, and you can just talk to the employer and be like, hey, listen, here, I know that I'm coming into this green. I want to, do my best to prove myself and prove that I have the value. And I may not have the book smarts of this trade to start with, but I'm gonna be a good worker. I'm gonna be a solid employee, and this is what I can bring to the table. And if you can go in and prove that, I know how to read plans, I know how to do, this function, I know how to, work well with others. I'm good at keeping my, my workspace clean. I mean, those are some of those super simple skill sets that go from trade to trade to trade. And if you can prove that you already know how to do some of that stuff, it's so much easier for that employer to look at it and go, yeah, no, this guy's 6 months ahead of the guy that's green.
Right.
Right. And it works well. I mean, you know what? Let's just make him the foreman of the apprentices, because you may walk into that position at 1 year in, and have equivalency of, 3 or 4 years of experience.
Right.
So,
yeah, well, I guess the next step would be, once you've decided what you want to give a try, give a shot to, how do you get started? And I know one of the messages that came in was asking, should I just contact somebody local, some small company, see if they're hiring, or should I look into the union or what? And I guess that the answer to that would be really kind of based off geography, to be honest with you. I mean, you and I have our opinions on it. And we've shared those in the past. I'm not afraid to say, I think if you're going to be into plumbing or HVAC or electrical, a organized union or even non-union, an organized apprenticeship program, is, in my opinion, superior to just going to work for someone. And getting on the job training and relying on that alone. Now, there are going to be some companies that will hire an apprentice. They'll train them in house and like really legit train them. That's awesome. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking really kind of the two more mainstream broad end of the spectrum. You've got an organized labor pool, like a organization, like a union that has apprenticeship programs, and it's very cut and dry what is expected and what is provided. And then you have kind of your non-union, go work for someone large or small. It doesn't have to be, it's not significant to the size. And they just, they're going to offer you just on the job experience and probably not really invest in you that much necessarily for your long-term success in this specific trade.
Yeah.
That's a little bit of opinion there, but it's based off of what I've seen over the years.
Yeah, there are those small companies out there for sure that just excel in creating phenomenal tradesmen.
Absolutely.
There are
100%.
I would agree with you. There are probably a larger number that are just like, hey, whatever, we're here to do this job and go do your thing and go home.
Well, there's advantages to being able to use lower cost labor. There just is.
Yep.
In business.
Yep. So I think, I look at my personal experience in this as an employer and, interviewing a handful of technicians over the years, and then also interviewing as part of the JATC, or the Joint Apprenticeship Training Committee, for our local union. And I would say every 6 months, when we get a new list of people that are applying for an apprenticeship program or applying to enter the apprenticeship program, we get at least one or two that are in that age range, in their late 20s, early 30s, mid 30s.
Yep.
That are like, we're just done with this and we're ready to exchange. And that's gone from, people that are, we had a gal here not long ago that was a sous chef. She's like, I'm just tired of working in a commercial kitchen. I want to get into plumbing. I was like, oh, right. That's cool. We had a gal that was a engineer for the local rail link, or the railroad company. And, those are big changes. You go from something that you're well skilled at, well versed at, and one of the things that we look at as the JTC is what kind of alternative skill sets does this person bring with them? What kind of advantages that are let's say the chef, does she have, exceptional team working skills that someone that's, 17 or 18 right out of high school isn't going to have that teamwork, experience. And, so there's some of those things that you look at and go, yeah, that person right there, that's something that was going to give that person an edge. They're going to be a better apprentice based on, their existing skills.
Well, I'm going to blow it up right now and just say, you said that chef was a female.
Yeah.
Better apprentice.
Yeah. Yep. Probably.
There you go.
Yep.
Sorry, guys. It's the facts.
Yep.
Pretty much all signs point to females make better trades workers. Just gonna say it. There, it's on recording.
There it is.
I don't care if anybody agrees with me or not. Nah, it and so many advantages. But we love our sisters and our brothers. That's for sure. This is big. This is big news for, a couple of people that wrote in, and it's not something I've given a lot of thought to, because although I've been in front of the classroom for the apprenticeship program, I taught for years, and I did have, apprentices in my classes that were older than me.
Yeah.
And they had to have made a switch, obviously, unless they were just, 10 years into their apprenticeship or something, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's big. It's worth talking. I'm glad we talked about it today. I think it's I'd like to hear from people listening. If you've been through this, or if you had something to add, there's always a link in the bottom of the show notes, kind of in the app, whatever app you're listening to, there is a link there. You can send us a voice message.
Yep.
Which might be just easier than typing it out, or you can find us over on Instagram. Both of us, there's a link in your app there to get in touch with each of us, Andy and myself. And just, if you do send us a message over on Instagram, make sure you put MTGA at the beginning of it. Helps me and helps Andy search them out and find those messages so we can talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about. We want to make sure we're talking about topics you guys and gals like. So there you go, Andy. Pay cuts, big deal.
Yep.
Switching careers, even a bigger deal. I like what you said though. Like, I didn't think of it the way you did at all when you said there's probably a lot of skills that transfer over.
Yeah.
You're more pragmatic in your thinking than I am. I'm more like, Hell yeah, come be a plumber. Why? Because we need plumbers.
That's right. Well, it's all good. So
it is. Yep. All right, dude. Well, there you go. That was a good one.
Yeah. It's good to talk about that stuff every now and then, because it does come up. I would say it's probably not the first time that I've been asked somebody, either personally or on Instagram or whatever. So, so there we are.
That's it. I gotta go. Yep. You know what's coming next?
I do.
I got diarrhea.
I can't.